it's funny to say that there are people that are anti-vax, but they don't want to say that they're anti-vax because they're going to be called anti-vax. It's like people being racist, but they don't want to be called racist, so they insist that that if they're called racist, it's worse than being racist. I know it's a logical fallacy. It's just logical circles, basically, and stupid, and basically doesn't mean anything. But I've seen it multiple times where people say, I'm not anti-vax, but I don't want to take this vaccination because, boom. Now, I sat on a call for the Bucks County NAACP for at least a half hour listening to one of the doctors for the Bucks County Department of Health describe all the different pieces of vaccination, all the different, methods and whatever, methods meaning like Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson. They don't ever talk about AstraZeneca. Acumatica is another thing. But he specifically talked about how there is very, 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 very low side effects in the grand scheme of things when it comes to vaccinations. And he talked about, usually within most vaccinations, within 8 weeks, you would see any sort of side effects that would arise from taking the COVID shot or any other vaccination for that matter. Now, people keep saying you don't know what it's going to do in the long term. You don't know what it's going to do to that and to this. Which I had to do a little bit of learning too on this, but the mRNA vaccine, which we did talk about way back when they were originally talking about this, but these are mRNA vaccinations. They are not injecting part of the COVID virus into your body. They are also not rewriting your DNA. Those are two different misconceptions that I actually thought that they were, originally manipulating DNA, and that has a connotation to it. I don't mean manipulating in a bad way. If you can manipulate DNA in a certain way that would actually benefit and prevent a disease, that's a good thing. Now, I just want to point out that these two things are misconceptions. The mRNA vaccines have been studied. They've been in clinical trial since about January of last year. They've been started to study these mRNA vaccines as they apply to COVID in general. But they've also been used and studied in other areas. So they're not just brand new technology. That's important to note because it's not like they just came out of nowhere. They happen to apply to the COVID vaccine very well. Now, I've gotten the Pfizer vaccine. I've gotten the first shot. By the time you watch this, for anybody watching this, I will have gotten my second shot in the Pfizer shot. So I might be KO'd in my bed for a little while, or I might not be. That was the other thing, is that side effects supposedly are affecting women more, which we're about to get to in a second. And they're also affecting younger people with healthier immune systems more than older people that have less efficient immune systems. But those are things that are natural. It's natural as you get older that your immune system is a little bit weaker than someone that is, say, 25, like me. But we'll see if my immune system is up to the task. I mean, I rarely get sick, which is lucky because I assume it's because of me going to the gym, both the working out piece, but also just being around people that are constantly exerting themselves basically. So I'm around. It's like being in a preschool. Like you're around people that are spitting and doing all that crazy stuff, which I know sounds disgusting, but helps build up your immune system over time at least. So but my idea of mandatory vaccinations, before we go into the Johnson & Johnson specific case, is You don't have to have the government mandate you are vaccinated just flat out. However, if you want to stop the spread and get to a amount of vaccines that create a herd immunity, because frankly, anti-vaxxers exist on both sides. They exist on the left and the right. Currently, the COVID vaccine, even though most Trump supporters believe that Trump made the vaccine, a lot of them won't take the vaccine. I don't understand that. And then there's also like the voodoo witch doctors on the left that don't want to take it. And that's, you do be a witch, but don't put other people at harm, which is what you're doing if you don't take the vaccines. Now, that's not to say that just like broadly speaking, every vaccine is fine. I believe the reason why in particular I think it was important to bring the doctor on, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. It doesn't matter anyway, but to bring him on for the NAACP meeting is that you have had in the past experiments on the black community. I believe it was in Tuskegee, where they pretty much just tested all these viruses on black patients, and they ended up getting really, really, really sick. And I think some of them died. Take what I have to say on that with a grain of salt. Again, I'm not speaking with the documents in front of me. It's just something that I know is something that is a living experience for the black community. So go and look that up. I believe it's the Tuskegee. I don't know if it's experiments. I think it's the Tuskegee experiments, but the show must go on. So I understand the reluctance there, and it's important that you have a doctor come on there and say, like, look, this is exactly what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make everyone healthy, and we get it. There's reluctance, especially with the history that black people have gone through in this country. But for the rest of us, there's not the same history. There is not the same thing of being like, we have a history of evil billionaires putting chips into people's arms that are tracking them. Hey, look, they know how to track us. They already know how to track us. And I also think it's funny because I asked a kid at the gym yesterday, I said, if you have to get 2 shots, is the first shot just the injection of the chip and the second one's the downloading of the software? Or is it 2 different chips just in case one breaks down? It's just a stupid little joke. But what the main part of here is that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been pulled by the suggestion of the CDC and the FDA, that is fine. If that's what they think should be done, that is fine. I think the Pfizer one and the Moderna one are both more effective. Actually, I know that they're more effective. Studies have shown that they're both around 95% effective in preventing the disease. They're extremely effective at preventing serious illness from the disease, and they're almost 100% effective once you are fully vaccinated. After the 2 weeks of getting the first vaccine, you're nearly 100% protected against being hospitalized for serious illness. So that is major improvements from last year. The Johnson & Johnson one, being that it was one shot, people really wanted it. However, there have been 6 reports. I will repeat that, 6 reports of young females in particular that have gotten blood clots due to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. But that is with about 7 million doses of the vaccine being given. I had to put that into a calculator, and that's about, 0.00008 or so of a percentage. It's extremely rare to have this blood clot. Now, I will point out that we have birth control on the market, and I didn't just research this because, I don't take birth control, but for the females that do, that has about a 1 in 1,000 chance of causing a blood clot. Now, of course, you're running the odds with any sort of medication, as I smash my computer yet again. But the fact that we're gonna, like, look, I get it. Make it as safe as possible for people. Make them take the 2 shots, whatever it has to be. But when we see the reaction to the Johnson & Johnson one being pulled off the market, you can imagine the delight of anti-vaxxers being like, I told you so, where they just want to read the headline and say, oh, you know, there's blood clots in this, whatever. It's not blood clots in it. It causes blood clots, whatever. And this undercuts the overall message and the rhetoric surrounding the vaccines, which really, really sucks, because you still need to take the vaccine, even if you, are afraid of getting a blood clot. You just get the other one, which is what's going to happen. But it's just unfortunate now that is going to be justification for anti-vaxxers to keep propagating their bullshit and their nonsense.